All right, Grimes, what's up, girl? You know, we're just out here about to discuss what differences make a difference. So, all right, you guys, what differences in your experiences, you know, in the workplace, on the team, you know what I'm saying? What differences have made a difference in y'all's lives?
I think we should hear about differences for the team.
What's good with the team?
I can speak.
All right.
Okay. Being that I'm black and I play tennis, that makes a big difference. Because yes. Okay, so but no, I'm black and I'm on the tennis team, and that makes a big difference because not many black people play tennis, obviously. Even though Serena Williams and Venus Williams they dominated, they still do. But as far as racial issues are concerned, that still plays a big role in the benefits you get and the opportunities you get and how you're treated by your coaches and your peers. And though it may seem some way like on the outside, it's still a little bit of secretive and subtle racism.
So do you think when you're like playing a match, do you think your opponents are just like, oh, she's about to be raw, like she's about to be
There
like
are
Serena?
there are people that are more intimidated by you.
Yeah.
Really, yeah, they're definitely more intimidated by you. You can tell by like just the way they look at you that they're more intimidated. The way they act is different. And then obviously there's some places where you'll go and then the line judges are bad, which is kind of like your referees. But your line judges are bad. It's like Georgia, Louisiana, pro tournaments down in that area. So it's tough, but I mean I've had plenty of experience of dealing with racist line judges, but you have to kind of at a certain age you have to learn how to overcome that because it hasn't changed now and it's been forever long. So it definitely that's a difference that makes a difference when you're playing. So you have to kind of realize that a little bit.
For me, I think football is basically where you come from. Because I'm from Brooklyn City, and it's not really a football area. Down south is basically football.
It's still recording.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Sure. Down south is like a football area. So people see when people in college see people in the city, they ask like they're actually wondering like, is it nice, is it good? Because everybody's from down south is basically a football area, football city. So city is basically basketball.
Did your teammates, did they like try to judge you, like knowing that you were from the city? Did they try to think that you could involve or something?
Yeah.
Well, not really, but like sometimes you do have questions. And so most of the time you try to find out by yourself. So like you to search your name and stuff to see if you're qualified to see if you're good.
Yeah.
Something like that. So I just
What about you?
Differences?
Experiences you've had?
Damn. I'd probably say just.
What about you being from Cali in a school in a New York school?
Ooh, I
Yeah.
feel that. I could definitely talk about that. So just, I feel like me, how I kind of go about things is a lot more relaxed, I think, than a lot of people that are from this part of the United States. And so just dealing with people that are from here, it's really hard for me to kind of assimilate, I guess. Like, one example is cats out here talk so fast. Like, you know, like, they're just like, boom, 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 boom. And, like, I'm the type where I'll just let you finish what you have to say. And then when there's a pause for a minute, then I'll be like, all right, you know, then I can go ahead and say what I got to say. But, like, sometimes people are just, like, jumping on their words.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's hard for me to really, like, feel like I
Yeah, that's how I talk.
speak up.
Do people expect you to act a certain way because you're from Cali? Like, they ask
People kind of know. I don't know how they know, but people will always be like, "Oh, are you from California or the West Coast?" Like just automatically. So I don't know if it's like.
So what you talk.
You can tell, yeah.
I guess.
The stereotype.
Right. It's a stereotype. There you go.
I feel. But even before I open my mouth, though, cats already know.
Really?
And
It's your swag.
It's just,
Yeah,
it's
the
just
way
your
it is
vibe,
different.
like your
You can tell
presence
you're
is
not
just
from
Yeah.
the
No.
East Coast.
Definitely
I
not.
like that though, because I'm so about the West Side. Like, you know, I'm repping so tough. So,
Yeah.
you know,
That's fine.
it's all good.
Would you say that it's interesting you can look at somebody and stereotype them off the
All the time.
all the time, right?
Because I'm a
People do.
light-skinned black girl.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah,
They expect me to
exactly.
be a certain
It's
way.
certain way, yeah.
And like, then someone would be like, I had someone one time say like, oh wow, like you're mad chill, you're not like, I was like,
What does that
Yeah.
even mean,
am I supposed to be
right?
a certain way?
Right.
And just being a black girl, I grew up in a small town, New Jersey, and it was very like white, upper middle class area. And I know I never thought anything of it, and neither did like my peers in that town because I grew up there my whole life.
Yeah.
And then when I got here was when I actually like felt I was really different actually because white and black people were telling me I wasn't acting black, and I was like, which creates another stereotype of how black people should act.
Exactly.
So people would be like, you're not even black, Ricky, shut up. And
Right.
even like my best friends in school are black, and even they'll be like joking around, but it's still like
I
a
am
thing
black.
where they're like, you're not black. I'm like, what makes me not black? You know what I mean? Like to me, being black is like knowing your history, whatever, and having what does it mean to people being black? So that's what I just get a lot. So.
I mean,
Yeah, I actually have like the same problem as her. I grew up in Harlem, but my mom wanted a better life for me than like living in Harlem. So we went to schools on the Upper East Side, which is like a typically upper to like middle class, upper white people. So all my friends growing up were European or white, and then when I got here, and all of my friends are like Latinos, and we have a really small community, and everyone's like, wow, you talk so white. And I'm like, what is white? How do someone talk white? Oh, you talk so white, and you dress so white, and oh, you're from Harlem? Like, where I live is like 3333, I don't know. It's like anyone who lives in that area knows of my building. And they're like, wow, you're from 3333? Like, you don't look like the type of girl from 3333. And like, there's a stereotype of the girls from my building. So, like, I'm flattered I don't fit that stereotype, but at the same time, it's like, I'm like, should that be offensive to me? Should that not? Like, because it's a negative connotation, I'm like, I'm happy about that, but like, I should be proud of where I come from, and so I should like want to fit that stereotype. I mean, not want to, but like, I should want that stereotype to be a positive thing, not a negative thing.
Right.
So yeah, I have similar.
Yeah. It's the, I understand, like, I'll get stereotyped for being, like, I'll walk around in a store, and I have a tennis shirt written, like, huge across my chest or something, and somebody, like, mostly white females will come up and be like, oh, do you play basketball? And I'll be like, do you see it? Are you ready? I'm like, no. I'm like, no. Oh, track. And I'm like, no, it's tennis. And they're like, oh my gosh, tennis. And it happens 9 times out of 10. I'm like, it's
like,
tennis.
Black girls can only play
basketball and track.
Run.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what in high school I played basketball, soccer, and lacrosse, and ironically I was the best at lacrosse.
Right.
But every time we were playing like other teams, they'd be like, all right, like I would hear the other coaches be like, watch like the black girl, and I'll be the first one to admit that I was not good at basketball, and I would just be like, and it'd be great because it'd be like the black decoy, like all of all the girls would be like double teaming me while like my one like skinny white friend, the best like scorer on our team,
Right.
So just like
That's funny. And what about you guys?
I'm not gonna lie though, I do stereotype some of like the females on this campus, especially like the white girls, you know, like I have a tendency to be like, oh, they all look the same, or they're all, you know what I'm saying? But it's like if I took the time to get to know one of them individually, then I might find out that they're whatever they're doing.
that's true. The stereotypes isn't just for black people; it means for all of us. So like that's a good point because even though I like came from white town, most of my friends back home are white. I still stereotype, but I'm not gonna lie.
That's why I like
with the sorority bag.
Yeah, that's why I liked this week's reading because, like, as opposed to Jean Ramsey, who was like admitting to being like white and racist and stuff like that. This week, what's her name? Brenda Allen. She was like giving like she's a black woman who stereotypes too. So it's not only like white people can have that kind of like be racist kind of thing. It's like everyone does it. It's second nature because like socialization. We've been taught like to think one way about a person. We grow up that way. We grow up around. Say if like I know one black girl my whole life, I'm gonna assume every black girl is like that just because I'm not exposed to other things. And it's nothing wrong with it. It's not my fault, but like you have to be open to like learning about it.
Exactly. I would say I did the same thing though. Like I remember when I was being recruited here, I didn't know anything about Syracuse. I'm from North Carolina, so I like went to the athletic website, and I guess the lacrosse team just won like the national championship, so they had like a picture with a trophy, and I was like, what the heck? Like type of football team only has white boys? That's what I said. I was like, what type of school is this? Like, I was confused. And then I was like, oh, that's the lacrosse team. Then I just kept going. But I instantly stereotyped because I was like, what type of school only has white guys? I'm like, why can't white guys play football? Or, you know what I mean? Why
Or
can't
also
it be a
you
predominantly?
stereotyped the winning team to be a football team
Exactly.
instead of a lacrosse team.
Exactly.
And every sport kind of gets stereotyped because, like, I don't know if you guys have ever heard this, but like, lacrosse is really popular where I'm from, and people around me dress like Blacksburg.
Yes.
So like, as soon as they like hear like a guy who plays lacrosse, I automatically assume he's like Blacksburg.
Yeah.
So you know, from the way he dresses, from the way he talks, and like that's kind of
You kind of understand.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It happens.
It happens.
It happens. Through experience, probably.
It's always a bummer when a stereotype is proven right, though.
Yeah.
That shit always
Yeah.
bums me out.
Oh.
You know?
I mean, there's
Like,
plenty
there's
of
a
times
big
that
stereotype that Puerto Ricans don't speak Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish. So every time someone says Puerto Ricans don't speak Spanish, don't speak Spanish, I can't be like, yes, they do. Because I've been that stereotype.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy, though.
So it's like I can't even stand up for myself because I fit that stereotype, and I'm like, damn, my life sucks.
That is bad.
Yeah.
It's bad, though. It sucks.
No, I was actually just thinking the other day that there are like stereotypes when it comes to music too.
Mm-hmm.
So like for instance, like I'm a big country fan.
Oh,
Like
wow.
not a lot of people know it. They'll be like this one girl, she was white. She was a good friend of mine. We met when I was abroad, and she was like, oh, like you like this type of music? I'm like, why can't I? Because like I don't. I mean, maybe she was just, you know, assuming whatever because of my personality, but I just couldn't really picture her saying that to like
Yeah.
maybe like a white girl with blonde hair or something. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
It's just the same thing that I know a lot of black people will do. Like if a white girl or a white guy, if they listen to rap music, they'll be like, oh yeah, they're cool.
Yeah.
So what makes them cool just because they listen to rap music? Just because they listen to the music means they're cool. That not necessarily, but it's just like, oh, they're cool because they can. In a way, it does relate to you because that might be the music you listen to, but it automatically just kind of puts a cool stamp on it, you know. And it's
Like Miley Cyrus and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Like, automatically, like put on a song with French Montana because she likes rap music.
or it can be the opposite because. I don't know. For me, when she started coming out with this stuff, I was like, no.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I didn't. I was like,
I judged
because
her. I judged her hard. I was like, nope, no way, not listen to it. No,
Me
like
too.
she's just trying to like twerk and what I was like, she doesn't even have a booty. Like, I was like,
exactly. She doesn't.
But then I listened to her album and it is very good.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
So it's really surprising how
Yeah.
good it is.
It's pretty
Like
good.
there's some songs that I'm like, oh, I wish someone else sang this. Because
Right,
But
but it's Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're judging her because
Yes.
she's a white girl trying to do things that we think black
Black
girls
girls
should
should
do.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then we get pissed at like Nicki Minaj for she's twerking, she's whatever.
And people
But
are like,
Like, oh yeah, that's just like
yeah, but there's a standard that they hold black women, Latino women, and white women too. You know, black women do something like that. A lot of people get mad at it. That, and sometimes Latino women too. They'll put those in the same category. But if a white girl does it, it's like, ooh, yes, like she's great. But black and Latino women, they're like, she's a hoe, she's this, that. You know what I mean? And that's I've seen that happen a lot.
Or
I've seen
people,
that a lot.
I feel like people get to the point where they expect that though, of like black and Latino women, like to be doing some foul shit and be like, oh, that's just what they do. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
maybe
Like,
so. I wonder why though.
well, I was at a party one time with mostly white people, and they asked me. First of all, when Dougie came on, they were all like, "Oh yeah, show us."
Yeah.
they always think that because you're like a little
An ethnic
person, like
yeah.
that you know everything. Like I took one of those like what are they called? Where you sit down and you talk about race. I took
dialogue. Yeah.
intergroup dialogue. There you go.
Okay.
And I took one as an RA. I was an RA my sophomore year, and I had to take one. And it was like me and one other minority in the whole class. And then this girl hadn't talked the whole year, and it's like the second to last day. And she turns. They're like, "Do you have anything to say?" And she turns to me and she goes, "I think Hispanic women are so strong." And I was like, "Thank you." but why? She's like, because my friend Maria told me the story about when her mom crossed the border with her and her brother. And I can't imagine my mom crossing the border with me and my brother, so I just think Hispanic women are so strong. And I'm like, my mom came on a plane from Puerto Rico when she was 7 years old. No one crossed any borders. Thank you.
But
But it was
people
like,
say stuff
but
like
it was
that.
like, that was the moment that I was like, I can't judge people.
I
Like,
know.
because she's only had one Mexican friend,
Mhm.
Maria, who happened to have crossed
Maria.
the border.
Well,
Maria.
I think that's
So-
like. Oh, go ahead.
So that's like what Brenda Allen's talking about,
Yeah.
like socialization, or like making like a reference to someone you already know that you just assume everyone's like
That's
that.
true.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like though, like we should maybe encourage people to like get those ideas, like say what's on their mind, because then we could
If
be
you
like,
don't
you
say
know
what's
what?
on your mind, you're not gonna.
You're
learn
never
anything.
gonna-
Exactly,
Exactly.
yeah. So, because I know a lot of people get mad when there's like some politically incorrect shit that's said.
Yeah.
It's like,
They
like,
hold it back.
yeah, it's like, yo, chill out, and now here's your chance to explain to someone what's really going down. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's what's her name? What's her name? Brenda. Brenda Allen. That's what she said in her book, though. She was saying how, like, most people, like, after the Jason story, they would be like, oh, he's racist because, like, he didn't expect me to be black.
Yeah.
But it's not because he was racist. It's just, like, it was the shapings, how he was brought up, and what he knew about the university.
yeah, it's an opportunity to teach someone.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes people just, like, my sophomore year, I had my roommate, who's still a really good friend of mine. She's white and she's Jewish. And she didn't grow up with any black people. Any people of color, for that matter, anything. And she was asking me some questions, but she was dead serious, though. Like, she'd be like, is it true all black people are late a lot? And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? And she just asked me the questions like that, but she was dead serious because she didn't know.
Yeah.
She didn't know if it was like a joke, if it was like a
Right.
was
Yeah.
what it was.
Right.
I was like, so at first I like got offended, but I was like, my mom was like, she just doesn't know, Ricky. So like,
And that's the thing. A lot of times people really don't know. Like when I came here on the tennis team, when a lot of those girls are like, they come from areas where it's like mostly only people like them, which is white girls or white guys. So they're not exposed to a diverse environment, I would say. So like when I came, like a rap song would come on and they'd be like, Aaliyah, and I'd be like, I don't like this song. Like, why are you screaming about it? I don't know this song. I don't know this song. They're like, oh yeah, or like let's do that, or something like, oh, I hear all black girls can sing. I've never heard that. Like I heard it, but I've never heard it before. I was like,
All black girls can sing.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I was like,
I never heard that.
sound like a dying horse if I started like. But it's you make those stereotypes, and everybody like I did with coming here, thinking the football team was white, or
No, but like
making
even the opposite. Like my best friend, she's this white Jewish girl, Aaliyah. She has red hair, freckles. Like, so I bring her around with me everywhere I go. And like, the first time I brought her to like, it's basically all Latinos were in a party, and everyone like turns their head when she walks in, like they've never seen a white person before. And she's like, I feel awkward because I feel like everyone's judging me. Like I'm trying to be like part of them, and I'm like, but you shouldn't be afraid of like. People are like, and now everyone loves her and everyone knows her and sees her on campus, and she comes around even when I'm not around. But like, there's the stereotypes that people are like, oh, like you're a white girl with an ass, and people are like, just because I have a bigger butt, like a big butt, then I'm a white girl with an ass. Or like when people say, like, oh, you don't talk that loud, like to me. Well, I talk really loud, but like, oh, you don't talk like that. Most Hispanics and Latinos, they talk really loud, or like stuff like that, or like the thing like you're pretty for a black girl kind of thing. Like what? Pretty for a black
what
girl?
does that mean?
I can't just be pretty.
Right.
I can't just be like, well, I'm not black, but like that offends me when people say that. I'm like, don't say that.
Yeah.
Like she's pretty.
I've heard that before a lot of times, or like. They'll be like, "You're pretty for a dark skinned girl."
Right.
Yeah. When did becoming dark skinned become a problem? That's when I feel like I missed the whole like team light skin, dark skin. Like
that's
people,
the thing that was
people are
driving me crazy.
hashtagging that.
It's mostly black people that are doing it.
And it's mostly black people.
Because all the time, like even like like I said, like I love my friends to death, like they're hilarious. But a lot of my friends are dark skinned, and they'll be like, oh, like team dark skin, team Ricky, like whatever.
A light skin face, and I'm like,
what does that mean?
What is that?
Yeah, but is that popular in California or no? Like I wonder if it's more of an East Coast.
I think it's more of an East Coast
because
even when I go to school, like sometimes like more so instead of like skin color, they usually do like where you come from. So like, cause I'm Haitian and Cherokee Indian, so when I tell people I'm Haitian, they be like, "You don't look Haitian." Like,
Yeah.
Haitians look a certain type of way.
Yeah.
And they always try to find a way to categorize how Haitians look this way. And
Yeah,
you don't look nothing like Haitian.
Yeah.
So it's the same way as a Jamaican. They be like, "Oh, you don't look Jamaican."
Yeah.
So like, especially I guess it's like East Coast thing.
I definitely think it is an East Coast thing, and definitely a Southern thing, because I'm from the South, so light skin, dark skin. I heard that, not in North Carolina, but when I went to Georgia, like to a lot, I hear that all the time. I was like, Mom, I didn't even know that was a category. I just thought there was like black, white, Hispanic.
It becomes even more of an issue. Like, I was talking to my friend who's from the Bronx, and she was telling me, she's a black girl, and she was telling me just like some stories or whatever, because I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I like hearing about people who are not from where I'm from, because I'm just so used to this like cookie cutter, like whatever. So she's talking about me, and she told me that she once got like jumped or whatever, and I said, oh, like what'd you do, or like what happened, blah blah. And she was saying she got jumped just because she was a tall, dark skinned girl. If you just like look different, I was like, there's no way,
there's
blah blah.
no
And she was
way.
like, oh, you'd be the first one that'd be jumped like every day, probably
Yeah.
in my
But
area.
like that's
And
like a thing in the city.
And I was
Like that
like,
happens.
why is
You
that
hear
even
about
a
that
thing?
all the time.
To
Right.
anyone, right?
And she was saying, I was like, well, who are these people? She'd be like, it'd be black girls who just are pissed that you're light skinned, and they'll just, and it's,
But that's because media shows us that to be like
To be
right.
to be
It's
like
pretty
attractive.
pretty.
but being light skinned doesn't, I mean, no offense to some people, but being light skinned doesn't equal pretty.
Yeah.
It doesn't,
Right.
like, I mean,
Yeah.
everyone's beautiful.
Right.
Yeah,
No, you're
yeah,
right.
shouts out
Because
to that.
the
That's about the most.
everybody.
Yeah. No, but you hear that these days. I'm like, I am so sick. It makes you look dumb when you're saying it. I hope
Yeah.
you know that.
Exactly.
It's making, like, why can't you see past that? Like, there's
But,
a person
like,
there.
I have a friend who, when we went to high school, her name is TZ, and she she moved here when she was 5. She's from Nigeria, and we had to bring in pictures of what we thought was like the most beautiful thing in the world. And she brought in a picture of a white baby because she said like where I'm from, like the more light skin you are, the more beautiful you are. And she started crying. She's really dark skinned. And my teacher was like, that's not okay to have that mentality at all. Like, that's not okay. That's, like, you are so beautiful. Like, no matter what skin color you are, you're going to be beautiful. But it's hard because that's how you're brought up. That's socialization. That's how you've been taught. And that the fact that there's parts of the world like that scares me.
Yeah.
That makes me sad.
Yeah.
It's
That's
true.
true. That's very true. Gosh.
And that's why people come here and they're like, come to America and they're like so surprised at the diversity.
Yeah.
And then, but like, they judge Americans and the diversity in America because of where they're from. Something that we can't, like we know more. I guess we don't know more, but we're exposed to more.
Yeah.
And we take classes like this
Yes.
to like open our eyes to stuff like that and make us recognize, because I wouldn't think about this otherwise
Oh no.
if I wasn't like reading about it and I was like, oh shit, she's right. Like,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Like I do that too.
Yeah.
Like the whole
Yeah,
time.
Oh yeah.
I wrote this like in my journal. Like the whole time I was like, wow, I really do that. Like,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
There are studies about that. Like, they take like little like girls that are like 2 years older, and they say like to draw a picture or like to pick the prettier doll. And there's a white doll and a black doll, and they always pick the white doll. It's just crazy.
My niece only picks out black dolls.
That's
the
So
funniest thing.
interesting.
She loves. It's just the funniest thing. She like loves black dolls,
Yeah.
and she's like she's Afghani and Puerto Rican, and she like my sister got like her first doll. She said you can pick whichever one you want. We're in the toy store. She's a year and a half. And she picked the black one, and my sister's like, okay, and she buys it, and then the next time they go, she picks the black one again, and my mom is like, what is, like, her obsession, she just loves it.
That's so
so
funny.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It's crazy, like, as much diversity as there is in the United States, and you see it, any other country that I've been to, like, for example, I lived in Argentina for a little bit, and when I went there, people did not think I was American just because I was black, you know? Yeah, they're like, oh, you're Brazilian. And I was like, nah, God, I'm from America, you know? They're like, oh, for real, there's black people in America, like, you know? So I feel like in other places, they still don't necessarily see, like,
In Spain,
how diverse it is.
I was in Madrid last semester. Everyone was like, "Oh, you're Arabic, right?" No one ever thought like I was Puerto Rican. We went to Morocco, and everyone was speaking to me in Arabic, and I was like, "I'm so sorry. Like I have no idea. I'm happy like people there spoke Spanish, so I could like hold my own, but like." I was just like, I'm sorry. Like, but people just assume, and then when people found out like I was American, they're like, wow, you don't look like an American.
Yeah.
There was these guys in the club who were like trying to talk to us, and they're like, are you guys from? And we're like, oh, New York. And they're like, New York, you're not blonde. And I was like, because only all American girls are blonde. And I was like, no, they're not. So, yeah.
I think it's interesting though, because I met a couple of tennis players from a different country. Sorry, but they're like from France and one was from Canada, and they thought the interesting dynamic with the whole like light skin, dark skin, and just any type of other race. They never heard about that really, where they were from. They were like so confused. They go to like school here for tennis, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of blown up, and also because it's in a lot of songs now, I think that's why it also has blown up, just like that. Just like let one popular person say it, like that's stupid, and they're like insulting America. And I'm like, I don't really know how to defend it because it's going on. So they're like, now they have these like, oh, that's bad. It's another form of racism within America. So it's interesting.
We were talking about when I was abroad, we were talking about like being dark skinned as opposed to light skin and like slavery and stuff like that. And there's a kid who was from Germany talking, and he goes like the Jamie Foxx song. He goes, does everyone look like Michael Jackson? And we're like, what? He goes, got a light skin.
Michael Jackson got a light skin.
Like, they all look like Michael Jackson. And I was like, that is comedy, but no, not everyone looks like Michael Jackson.
Everyone looks like Michael Jackson. That is funny. That's funny.
But it's not just here. It's not just in America.
Nah, it's definitely not.
I can't decide if I think Spain is more racist or less.
Apparently,
I heard that they were. Are they not?
Well,
Is that a stare?
I heard that they just started becoming like I don't know, normal. I don't know how better to say it. Only like 10 years ago, and like only one experience. I was walking around with my roommate because I went abroad last year. And I was walking around with my roommate, who's, I don't know if anyone knows Charity, but she's dark skinned and she has like, when we were abroad, she had these like long braids, and people were like staring at her, and it was just like she felt really uncomfortable.
I took sexuality in Spain. And do you know who Justice is? Like, or she has like really long braids. She always has it in a bun. So she kept saying like, I'll go to clubs and like guys will grab on me and stuff like that. And it's because most women, most black women in Spain, they come from. I feel like I'm talking really loud.
No, it's fine.
They're like brought here through like a sex trade. So they're prostitutes. They're known for being prostitutes. So the darker your skin is, you're considered a prostitute.
Wait till I tell Charity.
So that's why guys in clubs, they think you're easier. Because of that. Yeah. It was like a whole big thing. Like in the class, it was a huge. When she told us that, it was like all hell broke loose, and it just made so much sense because the girls were pissed because they were like, how can? And it's because and like
oh my gosh.
things abroad in Spain. We went to Barcelona. Do you know who Osar is? So Osar has dreads, and we're waiting on the line to get into the club, and they're like, you with the hair, no, get offline.
Whoa.
Like they didn't listen to him, and Osar was pissed, and he was like trying to fight the guy, and I was like, you have to understand, like it's not illegal to be racist here. Like if they ever did that in America, you could press charges,
right?
And I was like, you have to understand, it's not illegal to be racist here. And I just remember just being so like this is not the life for me. I can't imagine ever living here like this. But then there's other places, like when we were in Paris, everyone's like, when you go to Paris, everyone's so racist, blah blah. In Paris, everyone loved Osar. Everyone loved
They're the
Osar.
same way in Germany. They
Like,
love.
Germans love.
They love it. They're so racist, but like everywhere we went, everyone was so nice there and so accepting, and I felt like not judged at all. I felt like I could be anyone. It felt like New York City, kind of.
Yeah. That's interesting because I heard about that. Like I heard that Spain was racist. I heard France was racist too, but apparently not.
Yeah,
France
is
more.
known for being racist, but like, I feel like they get so much media now with like Kanye West and stuff like that I feel like
maybe they've accepted you.
Yeah,
I heard France's racism is just different. Like first of all, I heard they got over, but kind of like got over racism before we did.
Yeah.
So that's like one thing. People, there's I forget his name. There's like a famous black poet who back in like the 70s or 60s moved to Paris because he said it was less racist than America.
Okay.
And the way they're like racist is they'll just be upfront about it. Like they're just like we're just very underground about it. But like we'll do it with like looks or whatever.
Yeah.
They'll just be quick to be like you can tell if someone's racist or not in France. Apparently, like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
I think
So
that's just,
what would y'all like the whole thing of like upfront racism and then like more like discreet racism, which I feel like is here.
I
Like,
definitely think
which one do you think is? I mean, they're both
I'd
terrible.
rather you be upfront.
I'd rather you be upfront about it.
At least I know.
Yeah.
Like my grandmother, God rest her soul, she was the most racist woman in the world.
Oh wow.
But she was so upfront about it.
Mhm.
She was so upfront, like really, like not racist isn't the word, like prejudice. Like
Yeah.
my uncle's gay, and like his partner was like not allowed in her house, like not allowed. But like on her deathbed, she was like, you know what, like if he makes you happy, like I should be happy for you. Have these like revelations and stuff like that. And like my uncle married a Dominican woman, and she's like, no, I want you marrying a Dominican, like because I want you to have Puerto Ricans in your life so that everyone sees Puerto Ricans. So like little things like that.
Yeah.
And like, having that exposed in my family, I was like, that's not okay. Like I would never judge my kids for who they brought home. But at the same time, she grew up 80, like I was like when I was born, she was like 78.
Oh
So,
wow. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like she was exposed to a completely different time.
lifestyle.
She grew up like before there was even racism. She was growing up. So like she has those judgments.
my grandma was kind of the same way. I was dating someone. I lived with my grandma, and I was dating someone when I was in high school for 2.5, 3 years, and she did not like him because he was white. And not saying because I'm sorry, but I can just tell she felt like some type of way. And a lot of, I mean, like, I don't want anyone to judge my family based off this, but like, a lot of Black families are like that though, because like my brother married a white girl, and she is beautiful inside and out, and like truly just an amazing person. But you know, when she first started dating my brother, my uncles and my grandma and stuff were kind of like, like really, like Grant had to bring home a white girl, like blah blah blah. And so it's just kind of like, and even like it's not like that big of a deal, but even like my mom and dad would be like, so like, are you dating anyone? Like, is he black? Like, blah blah. Because they just, and a lot of people are shocked by that because they think I'm half and half, which I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm all black. But they really, you know, a lot of Black families are like that. It's not just a white, you know, looking at Black movement. It's a Black people, minorities, looking at everybody.
Yeah,
too.
because you don't want differences in your family. Like you don't want outsiders coming in and changing the dynamic. Like you want that to last.
Yeah, I think and that's what people are scared of, is that something's going to change, you know, within like family traditions or whatever it is.
Which
something's
in
going
my
to change.
family, it hasn't.
Yeah.
Brittany, that's my sister-in-law, is awesome. So
But like even so, like, what's wrong with change though? You know what I'm saying? Like people are
When
so.
you just said Brittany, in my head I was like, that's such a white name. So there you go. That's such a white name.
There you go.
So
So would you guys, obviously you feel like racism, you know, or stereotypes at that subtle or, you know, right in your face, do you feel like there's a way that it can ever change, or do you think that
no,
it's always going to be?
I think there's always going to be something that we don't like as a human race, or
For
like
sure.
in the United States.
Right.
Like it was being black, and then now it's like being gay is a problem, and then once people start accepting being gay, it's going to be something discriminate about being transgender, and once people are accepting of being transgender, they're going to be like, you have red hair, so you, and then have a problem. They're like, you have different nails than me, like something really dumb. We're always going to have something to hate on.
right,
My
because
mom-
people are scared of difference, and especially if that different group starts making noise and starts being verbal about whatever going on, that's when they become even more scared. And that's always going to happen.
Yeah, my mom was talking about like her parents' generation, which you know could be the same generation as some of y'all parents, because it's, you know, they had kids real young. So my grandparents are in their 60s. So she was saying when they were coming up, it was the race thing. You know what I'm saying? And then when she was coming up, it was still a little bit of a race thing. She's saying now she's noticing that with like my generation, it's like economics. You know, like poor people are hated on. Like, so I don't know. I hope that will change. I think it could only change if people start becoming like more comfortable with themselves. You know?
Yeah.
If you're comfortable with yourself and you're confident in what you got going on, then you're not really tripping over anybody else. You know what I'm saying?
I definitely agree with that. I think that just throughout, I can say only in the United States, as far as like you have like the upper class, and then you have people that are like they're in charge of everything, and then not the upper class. You have people that are in charge of everything. Then you have like the upper class, and then you have middle class, lower class, and it kind of goes back to even like generations ago. It's always for some people, it's always been about just business and money. So that's how their attitude goes towards everybody. And then we have our whatever class you're in or whatever environment you grew up in, you have your stereotypes with like what classes they belong in. And some people are just strictly about, their money, and some people are trying to get there, and it's kind of it's almost a circle, because like once you can get into that upper class or, the bosses, I would say it's a different world, I would say.
I think people pay more attention to like status than they do the person.
Yeah.
And which is so frustrating because like for instance, I love telling people this story, but like my mom was decently wealthy, and when she was growing up, and she had a maid and whatnot, and my dad, like my grandma came here from Alabama and found my grandpa. They married, had my dad, and they grew up in Brooklyn, and the projects, whatever. But my mom just like didn't. They went to college together in New York City, but like my mom fell out with my dad because he's so smart, and she knew he came from literally like nothing, like whatever. But like she tells us the story when they first went out on their first date, and my dad like didn't have a lot of money, so he had to call his best friend up and be like, "Can you meet me at the door? Like, give me some money. Like, I'm trying to take this girl out." And my mom was like, "I'll pay for it." He was like, "No, absolutely not." Like, blah, blah, blah. And so like my dad is like really is the smartest man I know, and now he's a doctor. And my mom said to me, she was like, "I always knew he was going to be something great. You have to pay attention to what's in here. It's
That's
not all about
exactly
status."
That's exactly right. That's so cute.
All right, guys.
Yeah,
See how long did that? Ricky.
I'm saying this is probably at least like half an hour.
There's a close by face. Okay, 36 minutes. Bye.